Hello and a warm welcome to one of the world's iconic cities. We're in London for round 4 of the World Triathlon Series, and in just a few minutes' time we'll bring you the elite men's sprint race live. And to say we have a star-studded field in a star-studded city is something of an understatement. All the current top 8 in the standings are here. You can throw the Olympic champion into the mix as well. Just approaching 2:30 in the afternoon local time. As we look at the current leader and undefeated so far this season, Javier Gomez. An excellent crowd in Hyde Park. We had around 40,000 for last year's grand final. Every expectation of at least as many today. The women's elite race will follow, incidentally, so in total around 2.5 hours of entertainment for the locals and of course for you, wherever in the world you're watching our coverage. You may know London attracts more visitors than any other city in the world. Fair to say they don't generally come for the weather, but after a week of almost non-stop rain, the good news is that it's dry, and we are assured it's going to stay that way. Temperatures nudging up to around the 20-degree mark. I wouldn't say it's sunny, I won't go that far. It's a bit cloudy, but at least no wet stuff is dropping from the sky. And that is a big bonus, not just for the triathletes themselves, it's Johnny Brownlee centre screen, but also for the large number of spectators who have turned up for what should be an absolutely thrilling race. The first time there's been a sprint race in London that's counted towards the World Triathlon Series. You might remember we had the grand final here last September with those two gentlemen. One in the middle, and on the right, Javier Gomez had that memorable sprint for the line, which in the end, Gomez won, and consequently won the world title with it. And he has been unbeatable in the 3 races we've seen so far this season, in Auckland, in Cape Town, and indeed in Yokohama. It didn't look as though he was going to win that last race in Japan. Somehow pulled out a renewed effort near the line to get the better of his fellow countryman Mario Mola. But Mola also likely to be in the mix today. And there are others that we will mention, including the likes of Richard Murray. Talk of the devil, there he is, on the podium in Yokohama. In fact, for long periods, looks as though Murray was going to win that race. He looked really good on the run, just ran out of gas 2Ks out. Actually had one of his best swims ever in Yokohama as well. And Alistair Brownlee, the reigning Olympic champion, who of course won that Olympic gold here in London. Not exactly the same course, but there were massive crowds in Hyde Park that day back in 2012. And as you see from that shot, we're not short of a spectator or two so far this afternoon. Stefan Justus from Germany. Not had the greatest start to the season. And he is very, very experienced. Be expected to go pretty well this afternoon. Well, alongside me is the voice of triathlon, Barry Shepley. I find this race really hard to call, Barry, not just because it's the shortened version, the sprint version, but also because we saw in Yokohama, it's not a 2-man or a 3-man title anymore, this World Triathlon Series.
No, I think the men's race is really going to come down to one distinct point. Does that lead group get away and stay away? That'll have the 2 Brownlees and Gomez in it. And are they able to stay away from the Murray-Mola combination and a few other guys? And there you can see those big names up front. If that group of Gomez, Brownlee, Varga, if they're able to get away and stay away, then they'll likely be able to hold off Richard Murray and Mola. But if that group of 5 or 6 all come off together in one big, huge group, anything's open. And today, I think you might even want to look at putting your money on Richard Murray. We saw where he was at 5K in that race. And I think that Richard Murray is primed for a sprint race, but he's got to be in the lead group by the end of the fight.
Yeah, and I think he knows that. We spoke to him on Thursday at the press conference. That's how we stand. Gomez, 3 races, 3 wins, a maximum 2,400 points. He's 300 plus clear of Johnny Brownlee and Mola behind him. Alistair Brownlee, you see there in 16th. That's because the only race he has competed in so far was in Yokohama. He finished down in 4th, but he seems reasonably confident going into today.
Yeah, when I interviewed him, he looked very relaxed. I was anticipating more from him on the run. I know he lost a bit of running time with a calf issue trying to get ready for that 10,000-meter track race that he never eventually did.
Just to reiterate, just one lap on the swim, 750 meters total in the Serpentine Lake. It's called the Serpentine because of the way it snakes around the park. Then they'll be off onto the bikes for a 20k bike ride, followed by a 5k run. And we're anticipating a winning time well under an hour. Let's start by the look of it. Into the Serpentine they go. Pretty calm, as you can see.
This swim is going to be really, really critical because 10-15 second gap out of the water for a group of maybe 6 or 8 could just be the difference. I just can't see, however, how they're going to be able to have that many great swimmers not have one long string along. Whenever you have Richard Varga in, you know the pace is going to be faster. So Varga, Schoeman from South Africa, McCartney from Canada, Raphael from France, Louis from France, those guys will take it out, and then the big names like Brownlee and Gomez will be sitting in 6th, 8th place. There's just too many guys for 750 meters to really be able to get that much of a gap.
You mentioned Richard Murray. I think it's absolutely fascinating how far behind the leaders he comes out of the water. Do you think he has some kind of target in mind if he can keep it to, what, I don't know, 25 seconds, half a minute?
I think if they can get in that 20+ seconds, what happens in that the first maybe 2 kilometers of the bike ride, if you're only 15-20 seconds down, you're prepared to risk it, really go anaerobic, well above your ability, your threshold, because you know you only have to do that for 3 to 5 minutes, and then you latch on to the leaders, and then you can take your recovery. So he'll be motivated if he comes out of the water in that 15 to 20 second gap you're talking about. If it's over 30, then they might have to use most of the 20-kilometer bike ride to catch up.
Well, there is Richard Varga. Absolutely no surprise to see him at the head of affairs. He's regarded as being the best swimmer on the circuit.
Now look at the pace. This is the only way that I think a break can really happen. If Varga just literally lays out an 8-minute 20-second, 8-minute 30-second, 750-meter swim, gets 5 or 6 guys away with him, and then is able to hold on, you know, get that small group away. So that's Raphael from France on his feet. He's renowned for being a phenomenal swimmer. So we have 2 stud swimmers. Raphael, an absolute horse on the bike. And then I think you'll see at least 2 or 3 others, you know, maybe one of the Russians in there, just trying to get that lead group in. And it'll be important that Gomez and Brownlee don't get left too far behind in this first 200 meters.
Well, we'll see if there is any bumping and barging as they come to the buoy. I mean, you think there might well be, because you've got 67 triathletes here, so they are by definition going to be rather bunched up. Well, there you see it. Wow. There you see the buoy. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And
you can just see, I mean, they're at 200 meters, and they have already put, you know, 8 meters into the chase athletes. So Varga has made the decision that he's going to take it out as fast as he can to see if he can get a small group of 4, 5, 6 guys to get away. Look at, see, this is where you get clogged here. So you're no longer swimming. Now you're stopped. You're literally stopped. Your heart rate's up. You're being pushed under the water. And those lead guys have nobody touching them. They're continuing to swim effortlessly up front.
So they make up even more time when you add in the the chaos that's happening behind them.
See, a couple of those guys are trying to go to the left of the swim buoy. That's why that kayak's sitting right on that corner there, that middle one.
You cannot cut the corner.
No, they'll get your number. You'll go. Look at the gap already that Varga, Raphael put in, and I think you'll see Vincent Louis, a few others now trying to bridge up.
Do you think, we know that Varga trained with the Brownlees before the Olympics, do you think Alistair and Johnny might have had a word and said, look, Richard, if you could just make this a very rich pace, please?
You know, first of all, Varga will get a bigger paycheck and more points if he can be in a group with the Brownlees and a few other bodies that are going. And there's Javier Gomez right there, so he's still moving very well, probably in about 9th to 10th place right there. You can see how closely bunched those guys are.
The guy I'm looking at now is #1, but he's the big one, okay? So if you can see who I'm looking at.
They're moving very quick. And these guys race a lot of times in France on these professional teams that only do sprint triathlon. So they had one last weekend that Mario Mola won. Okay. And it's very, very, very fast, just like we're going to see today. So they're accustomed to doing that 53, 54 minutes of hard racing. First of all, they recover quickly from it because 5K running hard takes them 3 days to recover. If they do a hard 10K, it takes them the better part of a week. So when they do those sprint races, they're able to get on an airplane, train 2 days later, and still race the next weekend.
Yeah, and obviously for the Europeans, this is perfect. Just a short flight. They've been circumnavigating the globe so far this season, starting in Auckland, then across the Cape down into Yokohama. But it'll be off to Chicago in a few weeks' time, so the respite's only temporary.
That'll be my shortest flight of the entire year from Toronto to Chicago. It's like a home race for me. You'll have a little bit of a longer trip to get over.
This was my shortest back of the flight. The Serpentine, by the way, that they're swimming in, they've carried out some really important restoration work, which I'm sure the triathletes will be grateful. They actually drilled 3 boreholes into the upper chalk, so now it gets nearly 1 million cubic meters of water, fresh water, a year. So it guarantees the water remains fresh and doesn't stagnate. Because I remember going back 10, 20 years, you wouldn't really want to swim in the Serpentine, but looks absolutely fine now.
Now the interesting thing is that lead group I don't think is big enough. It's 3 guys, 2 guys, and it doesn't have Gomez or Brownlee in it, either Brownlees. And so when the helicopter looked down, you can see the 2 or 3 guys and then a group of about 20. And I think that what we're likely to see is that group of 20 on the bike together. This Varga, Raphael group, they're not going to stay out front for very long on a solo bike ride.
Yeah, so this kind of breakaway scenario in the water only works if you
got
drag
6
Brownlees and Gomez with them, or whoever.
Yeah, otherwise they're going to ride themselves up. So there's the 2. There's the gap back to the, you know, look at it. It's 15, 16 guys. And over 750 meters, guys are able to fake it. They're able to just hang on. Where we usually see the big gap is in the second 750 meters, because when they come back up onto shore and dive back in on a normal Olympic distance race, at that point, the guys who've just been overextending themselves start to fall back. But today, you're likely to see a lot of guys come out of the water much closer to the Brownlees and Gomez than they normally do.
Well, they're not that far away from the finish.
There's Richard Varga, who, again, not a big surprise to see him up there. And I think, you know, that next bunch you'll see Schoeman, McCartney, the Brownlees, Gomez, Vincent Louis, all the big names that we normally would see. So look at it, 750 meters. This has the makings for a lot of guys on a bike here all together.
Live now, so nice and steady.
Alistair Brownlee's won here 3 times, 2009, and also again in the WTS series and in the Olympics, of course.
He said to me when we were chatting that he's had his biggest races here and his most sort of disturbing races here. Last year, obviously, didn't finish with the, well, finished well back with the Achilles problem. We remember him crossing the line in the hot year, and he virtually didn't even remember finishing and was in the medical tent. He was with his brother in Gomez with 300 meters to go, and I think finished 9th or 10th. So he's had a couple of strange, odd finishes here, and then obviously some of the biggest performances, making the Olympic team the year before, winning the Olympics, obviously. Well, here they come, and that's the kind of sub 8-minute swim that we thought was going to take. Boy, that's very, very quick now, just coming out of the water. So it looks like 3, might even be Schoeman. I can't tell that 3rd swimmer coming out, but it will be Varga and then Raphael.
He's onto his feet, and ladies and gentlemen,
Inside 8 minutes for those leaders. The question is, will all be Marcus Poniatsky? Yeah, good swim for him.
Yeah, well, he's a brilliant swimmer, so not hard to understand that. If that had 5 guys, I would say it'd be the perfect breakaway. They will try to stay away, but look at how many guys are going to come out of the water together.
Yeah, and look at the caliber of them as well.
Yeah.
That's key too. Poniatsky actually was 4th in London last year, so he's got a bit of history. Oops. Someone's taking a tumble. There's
The 2 Brownlees side by side. Gomez will be right in there with them. It's just one sea of guys coming out of the water now together.
Just looking for, let's go there, just looking for Mola and for Murray. There's Richard Varga.
Aaron Royal a little further back. There's Mola, 30 seconds. But, I mean, literally, this is one long sea of guys. I'm hard-pressed to not see this being 45 guys coming off the bike together. Gomez, clean transition. All the stuff inside, as long as it's in the box. I mean, you don't have to have it perfectly sealed for Christmas wrapping.
Don't have to fold and press it.
No. And look at one big sea of guys all coming off here together. So it's
And this can be a problem sometimes. We've seen all kinds of incidents in transition already this year. We saw Stefan Justus get his wetsuit caught in his spokes. We saw Jodie Stimpson, the series leader in the women's event, go down and hurt herself in Yokohama, but all looks okay so far. That looks like Richard Murray just coming onto his bike there.
Wow, well, I mean, I think the only savior for Richard Murray today is the fact that I think that I'm hard-pressed to see this thing breaking open with that many guys that tightly bunched together. It's just hard to believe you're not going to end up with 60 guys coming off the bike and then turning into a ridiculous run. Murray thought that it would be a sub 14 minute. So there's Raphael, and he really needs 2 to 3 other horses on the bike. He, his best kind of races are a 4 to 5 man, big, strong guys, get away and put a lot of time in. Right now he's riding solo.
Just to give you a bit of information about this course, it's pretty flat. It is technical, though. We have seen breakaways in previous years here, although not over the sprint distance, obviously. They head towards Lancaster Gate. They make a 180-degree turn towards the Albert Memorial. There's one more final turn, which is at Hyde Park Corner. 4 laps of 5 kilometres each, so 20 Ks is the total distance. And we'd expect them to do that in, well, less than half an hour, probably.
Well, Richard Murray, the last information we had was 46 seconds down. Now there's Gomez, Brownlee up front trying to really push the pace. He's got Ryan Fisher, who's a very strong Australian. He was a part of that breakaway, if anybody remembers, back in New Zealand at the World Under 23. Look at these guys, they're just hammering through. Look at Brownlee, relentless right now. He is just on a one-man wrecking crew, and he's going to try to find Raphael if he can. That is brilliant riding. Look at, he is just riding through the field. So there is the trio that came out of the water: Varga, Raphael, Poliansky. And they had a good jump, about 20 seconds on everyone else. So that's how much stronger they were swimming.
It's almost a practiced move, that high-step kicking action to get the wetsuit off, isn't it?
Well, Raphael would love to look over and see Alistair Brownlee pull up here. He won't know if anyone's coming. Looking over the shoulder, just hoping to see 2 or 3 guys. He's smart at this point. It doesn't make any sense to be relentless with his effort till he gets at least 1 or 2 other guys to work together.
Yeah, well, Alistair Brownlee, we can see his tactics already. He wants to get to that leader, and then he wants to break away.
Look at the technical skills there. He's tight on those corners. But these guys are not wanting to let him get away. There's Johnny. I think you'll see Gomez here in a second. He's back about 15-20 seconds. So the French team all just coming through. There's Gomez just going through there.
And the point is, Barry, if Brownlee doesn't manage to hook up to the front, then it's likely we are going to see a huge pack chasing the leader.
Well, I can't see anything other than that. That's Alexandro Fabian there, number 40. A big, strong Italian guy. He's great on the bike. So we've got that lead group now of about 14 or 15 guys. Fisher, Varga, the Brownlees, Gomez. But it's just, in my mind, a little bit too big. Another group's only 15-20 seconds back. You can see the number 1 there on Gomez's arm, the second back on the left-hand side, just coming into the middle of the screen. So those guys are trying to go as hard as they possibly can. And they're going to really need to drill it. Also in there, Aaron Royal, who's been having a brilliant season, but this first lap's going to tell the tale. But you can see in the distance that other group of about 25 guys.
Just hearing news, Barry, of a penalty. Gregor Buchholz of Germany will have to serve a 15-second penalty. He clearly was not listening to the advice given by our own Chris Gemmell, the former Olympian from New Zealand, who, if you receive our magazine show, we have a whole kind of instruction on what not to do in transition. You must get your cap, your goggles in the box. He didn't do that, Buchholz, so he's going to be grounded for 15 seconds at some point on the run.
This is Vincent Louis up front now, so that looks to be maybe 12 to 15 athletes. And then when you pull back, you'll see the chase group. You know, is that 12 seconds? It's not a lot. they're going to have to be relentless. I mean, absolutely relentless for the next 3 to 5 minutes if they really want to get away. And I wouldn't be surprised if Richard Murray has not made that second chase group. He was down. You know, he's such a good guy on a bike. It's hard to not see him ending up in there, but he definitely had a very, very weak swim today. The South African was back by 46 seconds, and that's a lot of time on just 750 meters.
He was telling me on Thursday when we had the press interviews, Barry, that he had about his best swim ever, because he was about that much behind in Yokohama over 2 laps.
Yeah.
So that shows you how much better he was a few weeks ago than today in the water.
Yeah. So there's the 2 big groups. You can see the leaders. The chase not too far behind. Fabian from Italy. Fisher, Brownlees, Gomez, Varga. The South African, they're just about to come in through the transition zone here momentarily. There's Richard Murray, so he's up front doing the work on that chase bunch. That's going to hurt everybody else, obviously. So these other guys are getting a free ride right now in this chase.
Well, he's not going to want to do this for too long, is he, though? Because he's taking some strength out his legs doing this.
Yeah, there's no question that the more that he has to work to catch up, and that's what I'm saying, he'll want to do this as fast as possible. The big problem is he's so strong on the bike that when he doesn't take the lead, then other athletes start to slow down the pace. So he physically needs to get a couple of other horses to help him up front.
He was absolutely elated with his 3rd place finish in Yokohama. The South African mentioned earlier that it looked for a long while as though he might actually win it before he got dropped by Gomez and Mola a couple of kilometers from home. But he was really positive about it. He's coming in right there in the standings, currently in 5th place overall.
We got a little break on the front. Brownlee, number 2, Johnny, and Aaron Royal trying to see if they can get away. I can see Gomez just trying to get up and follow these guys. In the perfect world, they would get 3 to 5 of them away. Well, there's 3 more just behind Gomez, at least 2 of the French. I think Vincent Louis and probably Raphael. The challenge is this course is very flat. It's very wide open, as you can see. So there aren't those technical sort of corners you get in places like Germany or maybe in Stockholm, where there's hills, cobblestones. There's the leaders going around. Here come the chase. You know, they're down to 8 seconds now, 9 seconds. That's not a large gap of time.
And they've got best part of 3 laps to try and close the gap, whilst the guys at the front try and open it.
Well, it's what's impressive is that the same 3 to 5 best runners also do their work up front. You know, both the Brownlees, Gomez, they're never hiding. They're up front doing as much work as they can, and that's why they literally are the best in the world at every distance they race at, because they're prepared to do the work for the entire day.
Yeah, Gomez has a pretty decent record here in London. Of course, he won the grand final a few months ago. Won in previously as well, and as mentioned, he's won 3 out of 3.
This is the backside of our lead group. So there's the young South African who just won in Chengdu in China. So, you know, it's more than just there's actually 3 great now young, South Africans when you put Richard Murray, Savold from South Africa, as well as Schoeman. So that's from a country that really had a long dry spell, other than Henrik de Villiers for a short period of time. They now have 3 legitimate world-class men in South Africa, so that's a great sign. That's Alistair again, I think, out front.
Well, it's a pound to a penny. It'd be one of the Brownies or Gomez.
At the very least, they're trying to keep this rich, and that's a credit to them. Great aerial shots. I had a run here last night in the park. It's such a great location. You know, you can literally get the better part of a run if you do 2 laps of the park, and most of it are some trails that you can get on, so you're not even running on pavement.
It's actually a huge park. It's bigger than most people think. It's 630 acres, which is actually bigger than the Principality of Monaco, where I know you have a second home as well.
Yes, it's an outhouse. There's Alistair Brownlee, 5 seconds. Now I can see somebody just trying to come up the outside. So he's working very hard. He was not impressed, not satisfied, not happy with the outcome of his race in Yokohama 2 weeks ago. So the Olympic champion in the lead. There's a group of about 12 or 13. That includes his brother and the Olympic silver medalist, Javier Gomez. And then Richard Murray is pulling that large group of about 35 men behind. I mean, Murray is just so strong, incredibly strong. But the longer that he has to work hard for 25 minutes on this bike, the more zip that's going to be out of his legs.
Talk about Alistair not being happy with his Yokohama performance. I get the impression with Alistair that, you know, if he'd won that race by 30 seconds, he'd have been disappointed he didn't win by a minute. I mean, he's that kind of utter perfectionist.
Well, he sets high standards for himself, no question about it. He could have been back racing at a few other earlier races in the season. South Africa, when I talked to Johnny, and he said, yeah, he still wasn't, you know, completely there. So
he's looking around for help, isn't he? He says, come on, someone's got to come with me here.
Well, the fireworks always start when Alistair's in a pack. Some of the other guys aren't quite as relentless, but he keeps things going, and really it's what you want to have, because if he can keep this group even 20 seconds up on this chase bunch, that'll make a big difference in the paychecks at the end of the day. It's a slightly different course for those who remember the Olympic course in the grand final. They don't go out so much onto the city streets here, and it's so expensive and even more difficult in terms of just traffic control. So they've been able to do much of this.
Yeah, and the way that they've designed the course, not just for the bike but the run as well, it's kind of spectator friendly. As the spectators, you can perch yourself somewhere and you see them come around more often than you would on the original course.
Stefan Eustace doing a lot of work up front. So he and Richard Murray, this is chase pack. There's Joel Silva right there, who just came second last week in a French Grand Prix race. So he's back moving a little bit stronger. He didn't race very well in the first WTS races of the season, but so that camera angle shows you that's through 12 seconds. Really, it's the group of 10 and then the group of 30. Boy, I'm hard-pressed not to see Richard Murray getting his way by the end of this thing and catching up.
Well, we'll see soon enough. Look at the crowds. And I tell you what, it's a massive sporting day in London today. We've got England playing a one-day international cricket match literally 2 miles away at Lord's, and then tonight is an all-British title fight where 80,000 are expected at Wembley, and I would imagine a few of these spectators might want to make their way to Wembley when we're finished here with this and the women's race, because you get there in good time. Huge sporting day in the English capital, and here we go with 2 laps gone.
16 seconds, 16 men in the lead, an 8-second gap. So, you know, it was 16 the last time, it's 8 now. They're going to catch up by the end of this 3rd lap. And then the real question is, you know, does anybody try to break off the front? But A+ to Richard Murray. Wow, he just about took that post. The guy is aggressive. I love his attitude. He's always in great spirits. Look at that. Hungry, hungry, hungry.
It's almost like you say, look, if no one wants to come with me, I'll do it myself. I'll catch it myself.
Yeah, no, well, that's why he's the world dew champ. And now he's been able to go off there. So that's Murray pushing. He's up front. Let's just see the guys that are sitting a little further back. There's Silva. I mean, but the fact that these guys are getting, you know, a straight long line indicates the fact just how hard that Murray's going up front, because you're 20-25% more energy. It's Kyle Jones of Canada right there in that chase bunch. Here's the leaders. So they are over halfway through the 4-lap, 20-kilometer bike, down to just over 9K left on this bike course. And the run, this is going to be stupid. I mean, it's going to be 13:55. Already this year, Mario Mola's gone 13:55 off the bike. Gomez is, you know, a machine at 10K. He's beatable at 5. And Mario Mola has already beat him earlier this year over the 5,000-meter off the bike distance.
Interesting you say that, because I think we both think that Alistair Brownlee's better at 10 than he is at 5.
And Gomez as well.
And Gomez. So it's just another element that makes it very winnable for the likes of Mola or Murray or whoever, or Johnny.
Stefan Eustace, yeah. I mean, it just becomes a bit of an equalizer when you go down to 5,000 meters. Now you don't need that little bit of extra fitness that it takes to be able to last for an hour and 42, hour and 43 minutes. You're able to just sort of get away. And you'll see some younger, smaller faces. There we go. They've caught up. So it's one large group. Not a surprise. And now Richard Murray really has to just do two things. Get near the front in case a break happens. He doesn't want to have done all that work and then still come off the bike 40 seconds down. So he's going to need to get near enough to the front that if a break happens, he's there. There's Kevin McDowell. I can just see the U.S. athlete. Interviewed him yesterday, the talented young man who came second. Now a little bit of a break now happening once again on the, I think that might be Ivan Rania.
It's Godoy on the right, the Spaniard as well.
That's 35 right there. That's just coming through your right, Godoy. Interviewed Ivan Rania yesterday, the world champion who's getting ready for his long distance racing. And this guy is so good that not only is he thinking of trying to win the Hawaii Ironman later this year, but that he could be in an ITU race and be very competitive with the best in the world. That's pretty impressive for a guy who's been around for 3 Olympics and 15 years racing on the circuit.
It's amazing. I mean, it's like in the Olympics, a 200-meter sprint to saying I'll have a pop at the marathon.
Well, that's not a, yeah, that's a very close analogy. So we're now looking at well over 45 guys together. Richard Murray, who had a terrible swim by his own average swim standards today, has worked tirelessly through the first 10.5, 11 kilometers of the bikes, got himself back into this. And now the question is, he needs to be up near the front just in case a breakaway happens. There's the mountain biker from Austria, Springer.
Just hearing that the young South African we were mentioning, Barry, Ian Sulvold, is out of the race. Don't have any details. He may have had a mechanical issue. He may have crashed on the bike, but he's out of the race, the young South African.
Well, that's certainly a disappointment because he, after a big performance again, there's Buchholz who's going to have to pay that penalty. I don't know if he knows at this point, going by Dan Wilson, who just made the Commonwealth Games team. So Buchholz putting his head down and seeing if he can just bike away. He's going to need a couple of other guys. Dan Wilson's a great rider, so wouldn't surprise me if he decided to go with him.
The other thing we've seen in London a few times, Barry, although admittedly in worse weather than we have today, there's been a couple of bike crashes, and when you've got the best part of what, 30, 40, however many there are in that group, there's always that danger. It doesn't take much for a couple of wheels to come together. They've got to be careful.
Yeah, well, if I quickly take a look at the gap, there are 55 of the 65 men in that lead group. So, 90% of the riders are now in our screen. I think you're going to try to see one or two guys get a little bit antsy here and go for it on the bike just because they know that they can't run 13:55. And if they're going to have any chance of a top 10, they're going to need to try to get away and make a bit of time here on the bike.
I think that was the Italian Sciarra making
yes.
a bit of a go for it. Had his moment of glory in front of the camera.
Just beautiful views here back on our helicopter shots looking down. So they're about a kilometer from the transition zone. One more lap to go. I think that's Declan Wilson, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he was a medalist for Australia in the under-23 national world championships last year. So he's needing to step up on the elite circuit. He certainly did very well last year as a young guy on the under-23, but there's such a big gap to step up on the international circuit.
So they're going to come and hear the bell in a few seconds' time. I'm just wondering if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them maybe going to have a real go for it on the final lap, try and give themselves a far better chance of a decent finishing position. Obviously, it's more money as well.
Neither of these guys are factors on the run, so Brownlee, Gomez are not concerned. If those two guys get 30 seconds, they know they can run them down. They don't want them to have a minute, having said that. So it's a matter of, okay, we'll give you 30. More than that, we'll have to ring you back. And you can just see when they're 6, 7 wide coming in on the bike, there's nobody at this point having to overextend themselves. There's Gomez, the thread needle #1 ranked man in the world. You can see the shoes waiting for these guys. One more lap to go. And now it's no question, it's pedestrian biking at this point. So now it's going to have to be starting to position yourself on this last lap that you're ready to be in the lead, 5, 6 guys, because we saw with Jody Stimpson in the last race where if you have 35 people coming off, suddenly bikes are jumping up and down, and in her case, she ended up with a whole bunch of stitches in her foot.
Yeah, well, she said she's kind of confident enough but I'm not convinced that had this race not been on home soil, she would have run, Barry, because I had a chat with her last 10 days ago in Yokohama, and when she just had those stitches put in, and yeah, that was a real painful one. Yeah. And it would have you know, been a detraction from her training regime as well, leading up to this.
Yeah, there's no question she lost a good chunk of running fitness. I mean, you're able to bike probably and to swim once the stitches get out, but it's the other part. So a bit of a break there, and I'm not sure 39, that looks like Van Rania. So there he is. This is the boy. Did a great 30-minute interview with him yesterday. He was the 2002 world champion. He's been to 3 Olympic Games. He took a whole year off of triathlon to be a professional cyclist after the 3rd Olympics. Just needed something to keep him motivated. He said if he didn't do it then, he knew he would never, you know, make it onto a pro cycling team if he waited until he was at the very end of his triathlon career. So these guys are trying to see if they can get some little breaks here. But with now 3.5 kilometers to go, the best you're going to hope for is maybe 15, 20-second gap off the bike. And Rania looks over his shoulder and realizes that he's not really making much time on these guys.
No, it's Brian Keane in the Irish rider in the light green, 3rd or 4th on your picture. Yeah,
Keane tries to do this on a pretty regular basis. One of the Frenchies coming up here, and that looks like Vincent Louis, Olympian. And now this guy he's a horse, and he's also very good at 5,000 meters of running. So he's trying to just see if he can just get 1 or 2. And I think one of the Brownlees are just matching him here as they go.
I think that might be Johnny.
Yeah.
So just past the half-hour mark in terms of the race time. And, well, we're not far coming off the bikes. It's amazing how quick these guys go.
Well, they're going to be off the bike by 34 minutes, and they're going to run 14 minutes. So they're going to break 50 minutes in my estimation today. So there's Alistair, and his biggest motivation isn't to break away now. It's, I want clean road coming into the transition zone. I don't want to have 35 guys around me and have the problem. That's his issue. A couple of the Germans in there. Declan Wilson's in there. That's Stefan Eustace just in the middle of your screen. Nobody's going to get away at this point. If they do, it's for a matter of just a clean transition. It's not going to be a massive time gap. So the run that we had anticipated is about to happen. And now, you know, how much fatigue does Richard Murray have in his legs? I mean, the guy who's been absolutely silent so far in this race, Mario Mola. I mean, just an average swim, has been hiding on the bike. He's run 13:55. He looked great in Yokohama. He's probably better over 5,000 meters than he is over 10. He beat Johnny Brownlee at the World Juniors when they were juniors over the 5,000 meter run distance. So he's got to be a massive threat. Richard Murray looked unbelievable at the 5K mark in Yokohama. So we know that he's got that spunk to be able to just drill it. And, you know, how much improvement can Alistair Brownlee make in the 2 weeks of training? The one who doesn't sort of jump out at me right now to be a factor is Johnny. I mean, Johnny's looked very good, just not spectacular all season, and I can't imagine he's made that big of a gap in the last 2 weeks.
I'm going to, with respect, disagree with you, because I spoke to him on Thursday. He said he didn't feel right in Yokohama from the minute he dived in. Just didn't feel right at all, and he's really quite confident going into this. And I have a theory that 5K, although he's excellent, there he is, although he's excellent over the Olympic distance, I think he's potentially quicker than his brother over 5K, but we'll soon see.
I'm not picking him for the podium today. How about that?
Okay.
Well, I think it's going to be 6 guys within 30 seconds at the finishing line, and there's no reason to believe that the 3 guys that were on the podium in the last race may not be the same 3 guys. The order could be a little bit different between Mola, Murray, and Gomez.
Well, we'll see soon enough, because they're well into this final lap on the bike, and then it's just a 5K run to come. These magnificent aerial shots brought to you by our eye in the sky over the English capital on what is a very pleasant afternoon on the last day of May. Not exactly flaming June tomorrow here, but at least it's going to be dry.
Well, Buckingham was up front doing a lot of work, just keeping the pace going. That's Gordon Benson right there from Great Britain. So a lot of young kids getting a start here this weekend. Just a matter now of about another 2 minutes. Dmitry Polyansky looking over his shoulder. The Brownlees up front. Gomez, I don't see him. He's probably buried back in about 10th or 11th place, but
I think there's a few of them buried. I mean, it's so difficult to see when there's a pack of 50 odd, and
yeah,
you've got to be very careful coming into transition here. You really have to keep your wits about you.
Well, you don't want to lose that connection. So we're 400 meters in. Wherever you're at now, you're pretty much stuck there until you come off the bike, because there's just no geography to get out. Brownlee up front there. I can see Johnny to the left. Vincent Louis up front, and Sven Reeder, he's such a smart guy, right in the middle of your screen, positioning himself. Haven't talked a lot about him. There's no reason to not expect that he can't be a big factor today either. Olympic Games bronze medalist way back in 2004. And here we come. Off the bike, let's see if anyone's got a penalty. We know Buchholz will in 15 seconds, I think it's actually 10, is a huge gap of time. Boy, I wouldn't want to be trying to check out all 50 set of those feet hitting the ground. But you got to think that Alistair is going to do his classic off the front like a sprinter. Gomez right there, so they're going to be very close. They're going to want to connect right off the bat.
Just a correction, it is a 10-second penalty.
Yes.
Right, obviously, a sprint race, I think I said 15 earlier. Gomez off with the helmet, and away he goes. The man yet to lose.
There's Mola. Yeah, so helmets in means it's been a clean start, at least for those guys. Wow, this is going to be stupid fast, because it's going to take, I think, under 14 minutes today. It's a perfectly flat, out, back, great for the crowd. They're going to see these guys coming by them, you know, roughly every, well, 4.5 to 5 minutes. So
it's actually twice on each lap. They're going to give the spectators maximum entertainment here for the 5K total distance.
Yeah, there's the Brownlees up front. Gomez not too far away. Richard Murray right there. There's Mola. Yeah, so
usual suspects.
Yeah, the guys we anticipate. I think the only other guy I would see thrown in there, maybe Stefan Eustace, could be a bit of a factor. Wow, this young German's laying it down up front, no question about it. And again, the difference over 5,000 meters, it gives young guys a bit more of an opportunity to be right in there, because they don't have to have the same kind of fitness. So there comes Murray, here comes Mola, there's Gomez. You know, that's the 5 with maybe a Stefan Eustace that I could see being in that bunch by the time they get to the 2K mark. So going by, and they've already separated themselves from, you know, a dozen other guys out there right now.
Yeah, this is going to be absolutely fascinating. We saw in Yokohama, Alistair Brownlee tried to absolutely drill it from the off in the run, and it didn't work for him. He was probably fit enough, he was just coming back, and consequently he was dropped fairly early on, and then Johnny not that much longer afterwards. But might be a different story today. It's only 5K, remember.
Well, now the names that we anticipated: Brownlee, Gomez, that was the medalist at the Olympics here. Mola and Murray, the guys are on the podium the last time. See Ryan Bailey trying to hang in there. Larza, who's been having a brilliant season. Pereira, the big Portuguese boy, who just continues to impress how well he can run for such a big man. There's the masses going through right there. There's Keane, who tried to make that little bit of a breakaway, and Shaw. Godoy, who at one point led on the bike. But now we're down to the real boys.
If you think about this in kind of track terms, it'll be 12.5 laps, like the 5,000 meters in the Olympics. And now we've got Mola and Murray having a little go at the front.
I mean, they've had the fastest, if you look at the fastest average runs all season, put them all together, Mola and Murray have outrun Gomez and Brownlee as the fastest average run times. But they've been coming out of the chase pack most of the season. So it was only the last race that they were able to get up front and strut their stuff. Prior to that, they're coming off the bike 30 seconds a minute and a half, 2 minutes down. And even though they had the fastest runs, they were running into 4th place or 5th place. So now, as we take a look, let's see who's the next to get dropped off out of this bunch. We've got the big 5 that we anticipate. And again, remember, it's always very odd that Alistair Brownlee doesn't lead. He doesn't like not to lead, and already he's been spit out the back. So
the one thing that really curious about Javier Gomez, we keep saying, not just you and I, but the triathlon world keeps saying, yeah, he's got no sprint finish. And yet every time we seem to watch him, not every time, but most of the time, like in the grand final last year here, like a few weeks ago in Yokohama, he still comes out on top.
Yeah, the only difference was it was he and Mola. I just think there's something, I think Mola and Murray have something special going on right now. They're sick of not being on top of the podium. They're sick of the big three owning it, and I mean owning it. Ryan Bailey's just having the race of his life right now. I don't know if he's just overextending himself and going to be in trouble, or this is just brilliant, but he's having a terrific race. Gomez looks like he's suffering. Pereira hanging in tough in there. I can see Silva also into that bunch. And there's Stefan Eustace, who I thought might just be a little bit fitter today, but I think he's just building himself into the middle of the season. This is a guy that's been around for quite a while, so.
Yeah, vastly experienced. Well, looky here, guess who's back at the front again.
I'm going to need to have that kind of fitness to get to the interview area. I've got to do about a 250-meter sprint out the door. Now, is it Gomez just hanging on the back there?
What interests me is that you mentioned a moment ago, Alistair Bradley does not want not leading.
He's like he's where
back at the front again.
Yeah, he's where he wants to be. So Murray, Mola, Bailey, Pereira, the two Brownlees, Gomez, Silva. Now these are the boys. I mean, you could probably only name 2 other runners who deserve to be in this bunch who aren't there. So this is what we anticipated this course would do, and that is short, fast, ridiculously quick. We'll see what the time is at the end of the first 2.5 kilometers, but they are just laying it down. There's no question about it.
So Alistair Brownlee, who's just competed in 1 race so far this season on the World Triathlon Series, and he was a little off the pace, finished 4th in Yokohama, with Mola behind him, Murray on the right-hand side of your screen. Javier Gomez just looks like he might be struggling a little bit. Johnny Brownlee trying to go with the pace as well.
One of the guys starting to move through the field back in that chase pack looking very solid right now is Kyle Jones, and he's suffered this year, but he's back in that sort of 9th, 10th place, so he's having a bit of a stronger day. That lead group, though, of 8 really moving well. Brownlee, Gomez, not where he would like to be. Bailey looking brilliant. And 5,000 meters, I think he can just hang on long enough to fake it. Here comes Gomez. He doesn't want to be shut out of the television time. So here comes Gomez. He knows that his best race is to push it from here on in. He's got to keep the pace rich.
Fantastic atmosphere here in Hyde Park. You can see 7, 8, 9, 10 deep spectators right down the road there. And they're in for a treat, I suspect, over the last few kilometers of the run here, because you can't call it at the moment. I can't.
Well, no, you know, because you've just got to ask who's feeling special. You know, Brownlee's fallen back into the pace. Both of the Brownlees now sitting back in about 5th and 6th. Gomez has gone up to the front, and this is his style. Gomez needs to be able to try to initiate stuff, make it happen, make it keep going. So 2 Spaniards, 2 Brits, 2 Portuguese. Buchholz just going over there for his 15-second penalty, so that's a bummer for him. He was right in the thick of this thing. That's going to hurt for sure.
See some of those further back in the field going through. Carl Jones from Canada, currently in 12th place. Then Riederer, who's trying to work his way into the season, a bit like Stefan Eustace. Aaron Royal, who's a bit further away than we might have expected him to be, came in the overall rankings in 4th place before the start today.
So we've got a lead group of 8 athletes all running together. And now Miriam Mola's turn. This is like a massive heavyweight fight where one guy takes the punch, another guy.
It's a slugfest.
Pereira, you know, 2 Portuguese, 2 Spaniards, 2 Brits. Wow.
We know Mola's got the sprint. He's also, we know he's a great distance runner generally, 5K in particular. What do you think his tactic's going to be? Is he just going to hang on in the bunch, or does he fancy making a bit of a break or rely on a sprint?
Well, boy, you know, when they're going the pace they're going, how do you go any faster? And somebody said this to me a couple of days ago. You know, when you're running 29:40 pace, which they did at 29:30 at the race in Yokohama, that pace is 21 kilometers an hour on a treadmill. Get on there for a few seconds and see how long you can last. That is sprinting for the humans. So to go that fast and then have to go faster, boy, big, impressive run right now by Pereira. For me, this will be the race of his life if he can hang tough with these guys. Ryan Bailey is definitely stepping it up with the big boys, no question. Mola's doing what I anticipated that he would do, and that is start to just keep that pace going, try to hang in there. He's got the fastest run of the year so far. Mario Mola's got the fastest, and here comes Brownlee. He's turning this into like a track race right now, accelerating, trying to pull him along, accelerating, trying to pull him along, see if there's anyone that can burn, and it looks like Pereira might just be starting to fall off the back. Gomez, I think, is falling off just a touch. I can't see who's at the very back of that, so it's Pereira falling off. Gomez is on the back, and he is on the ropes right now. Gomez, Pereira, and Silva. And now look at the acceleration. Alistair Brownlee absolutely picking it up. This is like a 1,500-meter track race, and he's laying it down. Richard Murray.
Look how relaxed Murray is.
Yeah.
He's not losing any ground. It looks like he's making half the effort.
It is. And here's Pereira back into this, like a boxer. Johnny's hanging tight. Do we see Gomez come into the screen? Yes, we do. So none of these guys are really falling off, but I think Javi is a guy who might be just frightening me the most right now, because he really looks like he's suffering just to try to keep at that pace. And now it looks like Alistair's just slowing it down a bit. He's accelerating, he's bringing it back. And all the track work that he did on the track, that would work to his benefit, because that's the kind of thing you could see on a track happening.
Well, now we have a situation where from here, basically a mile race.
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
for the win.
1,620 meters to go. So you're at a mile to go to the finishing line at this point. But these guys are going to run it in 4:30, 4:29, whatever the case may be. So it's going to be very, very fast running.
Give me a name. I'll be massively impressed if you can pick a winner from here.
Murray.
Okay.
I said it from the beginning. I just think he's, I just think he wants it. But how do you take the will away from, Alistair Brownlee, who's got the fastest, 10,000 meter run. He's, ran that 28 and change last year at Stanford. Was preparing to run the Commonwealth Games 10,000. So all of those things say that he should be the guy who, if you come down to 500 meters, 600 meters to go, has the last bit of leg speed to go. This is awesome. 8 guys. I can't see if they drop Pereira out of that.
I think it's the Magnificent 7 now.
Okay, and Gomez at the back of that 7. Ryan Bailey, might be the race of his life. No, there's Pereira, the big head in there. So it's actually Gomez who is suffering the most. I just think we're seeing the end of a phenomenal phase of training and racing for Javier, from half Ironmans to all kinds of events. The guy is brilliant, but you can't win every weekend on this circuit against that number of great guys. You just can't.
It's João Silva who's dropped off from that original 8 now. Okay. So that's all the way down to 7.
Gotcha. So the Portuguese that's in there is Pereira. 1 Portuguese, 2 Spaniards with Gomez and Mola up front. 2 Brits, the Brownlees. No big surprise. Yeah, and there's Vincent Louis onto the other side of the screen there. Chase group of 15 or 16. Dan Wilson into there. Brian Keane. Bailey, just brilliant. Like, I would not have anticipated this. He's had solid performances. If you look at Ryan Bailey this year, he was 16th and 12th and 13th, 5th in Auckland, but nothing like this.
You ever seen him sprint, Barry? I'm wondering what his sprint's like.
Well, he's a tiny guy. Look at him. Holy, he's just having it. Pereira, big, strong guy. Look at the height difference between him and Brownlee.
Johnny looks pretty relaxed at the moment. Alistair, to me,
looks like somebody punched him in the face with he looks like he should be in that boxing match tonight, and it's like the 12th round. But you never bet against Alistair Brownlee, and at home, he's either had brilliant races or terrible, bizarre races, and right now he's in a fight for a great one.
Right, so we've had effectively the mile race has gone. Now it's an 800-meter race. Alistair Brownlee leads Murray. Mola tucked in behind where he wants to be. A little gap back to Johnny, then Pereira, and then the reigning world champion.
Like, could Gomez just be sitting here holding back, because he certainly, other than that one attempt to get away. Again, up on the toes. Here we go. This may be the last chance for Alistair Brownlee to get away from Richard Murray.
I think he's putting some distance in there.
He definitely is. He's up on the toes. Look at the effort. This guy knows how to execute on the biggest days. He's the greatest triathlete to ever do it on a one-day basis. No question. He looks over his shoulder, but Richard Murray continues. It's Ryan Bailey is now dropped off, so we're down to 6. Pereira now, the guy who's in the rarefied air. Silva back. It's Johnny Brownlee back at about 6. Here comes Gomez up the outside. Gomez moving up very quick. But Richard Murray, to me, just looks brilliant. Mola hanging in tough. We are coming around the corner. It is not long now to the blue carpet. Here we come. Alistair Brownlee can see the blue carpet. Mola there. Pereira is in fourth place. Gomez has fallen off the back. There's no question. Gomez will not make the podium today. It's on time to the blue carpet, and here they come. Alistair Brownlee trying to keep away. Richard Murray finding one more gear. Richard Murray is moving very well. Look at Murray. Here comes Brownlee. We're on to the blue carpet now. It is Richard Murray trying to dig in deep. Mola in third. Pereira coming up the side. And it looks like Brownlee may have made a tactical error trying to get inside, and he's lost it. Murray and Mola onto the blue carpet. Here comes Brownlee. Pereira hanging top. They're coming to the finishing line. Pereira is going to be on the podium, and it is going to be Mola across the line with the victory. There comes Murray. Pereira in third. Nobody would have picked him, and Brownlee in fourth.
What a finish. And Mario Mola, who was the only person going into the race today who had actually beaten Gomez this season, has done it again when it really matters in a World Triathlon Series event. Alistair Brownlee gave it all he had, but he just couldn't get there. And that is a magnificent win for Mola. There's Johnny Brownlee, who just couldn't go the pace in the last couple of 100 yards or so. Brave effort from him. The winning time under 50 minutes. That is incredible. 49.36. Mario Mola's winning time. Richard Murray denied again, but he's getting closer. Third in Yokohama, second today. I spoke to Mario Mola on Thursday. I got the impression he was confident. He didn't want to kind of predict he was going to win, but you just got that feeling. He's an athlete who knows exactly what his tactics are, especially in a sprint race like this. And he had too much for Alistair, too much for Javier, too much for Johnny, and in the end, just too much for Richard Murray as well. So Javier Gomez's 100% perfect record has gone in the World Triathlon Series. He's still going to be at the head of the affairs, though, as far as the standings are concerned. Johnny Brownlee doing a quick interview. He's right in the mix as well for the world title. He's already won, of course. Gomez just couldn't go the pace on the 5K. We all know he's better over 10. He gave it a really valiant effort, though. Stefan Eustace. It served as a useful warm-up for him. Well, you can't say you don't give you entertainment and excitement on the ITU WTF series. You just couldn't pick a winner about a kilometre from home. 8 became 7, 7 became 6, and then it became a sprint to the finish. It was magnificent viewing. Runners still finishing. That's Sharp, one of the other British runners. Matthew Sharp. They've got a phenomenal programme, the GB Triathlon organisation here. What support the crowd gave today, even when they knew that Brownlee's goose was cooked, as it were. Still, David everything as the leading protagonist ran for the line. This takes it out of you. Nischlag, the German. Well, the women have got to follow that in about half an hour's time. That'll be tricky, let me tell you. What a race. And it's first time on the podium, top of the podium for Mario Mola in a World Triathlon Series event. Let's go and speak to the man himself and find out how he did it.
Mario, you've got to be pleased with that performance. You've had some of the fastest 5K runs this year in those sprint races. What's about the magic of the sprint distance?
Wow, it was unbelievable. still a bit on the clouds, flying through this. I felt great since the start of the run, since the start of the race really. But yeah, we were lucky to be fighting in the last 5Ks. We're a big group fighting for a win. I think it was a great race. Very happy and pleased with my race, with my performance, and of course, very happy to get a win here.
Talk about Alistair. He was up front there 2 or 3 times accelerating. It looked a bit like a track race for 2 or 3 of those laps.
Yeah, we were going really fast. I was just trying to stay there, trying to keep with them. Then I knew that Richard was going to attack and be very hard, very strong as he is always. So I tried to follow him, and today I was able to find that strength that gave me first position here.
Champion here in London. Tremendous performance by Mario Mola as he claims a WTS win here on round number 4.
Super Mario he is, and Super Mario he was today without any question at all. And you can see Javier Gomez there, just wanted to congratulate him and have another word with him. That's the kind of gentleman that Gomez is. But this is Mola's day. Richard Murray so close again, but he's getting closer. It's the silver today. He's downstairs talking to Barrett.
Richard, it took a gutsy bike there for about 2 laps. After 45 seconds down out of the water, you had to work tirelessly in that first 2 laps.
Yeah, you know, it was the guy started to push at the start, and I thought, oh, we're going to catch them easily, and then I saw we weren't going to catch them for a moment. So, you know, I got to the front and started to shout, but it didn't help too much. But eventually we closed them down after the second lap. I had to put in a bit of a, I wouldn't say superhuman effort, but the last part was very hard just before we headed up, and we just managed to catch them.
We thought maybe 4 or 5. It turned out to 8 guys for most of that 5K run, and you guys were going just tirelessly. Talk about the feeling with inside that group.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. You know, I was holding back. I told myself, okay, this time I'm not going to go for it all out. And yeah, it was, I think, easy the first lap. It wasn't anything spectacular. You know, there was 1 or 2 surges. Mr. Diaz tried to push the pace a little bit, and so did Alistair. But yeah, it was I wouldn't say sedate the first lap, but it was you know, the second lap was where the big guns came out, and you know, Alistair started to push it on the second lap. Everyone was just biting the bit, following him, and then yeah, it was something spectacular to the finish.
Big crowds loving it out there today as Richard Murray claims silver here on the Olympic course.
Cheers, thanks.
Yeah, that smile gets ever broader, doesn't it, from the South African. You have to think it won't be long before he wins a gold in one of these races. João Pereira, you could see the arm aloft there. That's what it meant to him to get on the podium. Finished ahead of Alistair Brown, and here he is for Barry.
You've got to be pleased. Biggest performance of your life here with the best athletes you've ever raced against.
Yes, I'm a good performance. I'm love competing in London, and this race it's very good for me. It's very flat and very fast, and I feel good in this race.
Could you have expected to have run that fast to outrun the 2 Brownlees on that final 200 meters?
I'm running very fast, but I'm comfortable in this speed. And the final sprint, I'm not pushed. I don't know. I'm very, very strong because it's for free place, and I never can. I'm feeling very good.
Breakthrough today. Mr. Pereira from Portugal claims bronze here in London.
Well, it's hard to know who's actually happier, Mola Murray or Pereira. Massive races for all of them. Murray with that silver medal. He did get a gold actually in Hamburg, didn't he, just running up to the Olympics, but that was a very depleted field. I think he's really earned that silver today, as has João Pereira, the bronze, out sprinting Alistair Brownlee. The run up to the line. You've got to think Alistair Brownlee can't be completely 100% fit. We saw him come back in Yokohama. He improved a bit today for sure. I'm sure there's more to come from the Olympic champion. We can hear now from the man who's still leading the overall standings. That's Javier Gomez.
Javier, I know you're the kind of guy who doesn't like to be anything but first, but still #1 ranked in the world. Talk about today's race, because that group of 8 guys really drilled it on the run.
Yeah, personally had a pretty bad day. Felt really flat from the beginning. You know, power on the swim, and the bike I was struggling, even though it was a very good big group. I tried on the run, I tried to keep up. I was feeling pretty bad, and yeah, I gave my best today. Well done to the guys in the front, especially to Mario. I'm really happy for his first win in WTS, and yeah, he got a 6th place. It's not great, but I'm happy because I gave my best today. I didn't have the legs, and hopefully it will be better in the next one.
It's a long season and have 3 wins already this early. You still have a huge lead as we head off to the next race. It'll be in Chicago in another 4 weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's a really classy guy, Javier Gomez, and it would be a very brave man to bet against him landing the title that he currently leads. We'll show you those updated standings at some point. These glorious aerial shots of the English capital from our eye in the sky. And don't forget, we've still got the women's race to come live in around about half an hour's time. They're back-to-back. That's also a sprint race. Conditions, as you can see, absolutely perfect. It's not going to rain for once. It has bucketed down over the last couple of weeks here in London. But conditions spot on, and how we were rewarded, and how the large banks of spectators were rewarded with that thrilling finish. And a landmark day for Mario Mola with his first win in a World Triathlon Series event. I heard Barry say the WTS circuit moves on to Chicago in 3 weeks' time, and to Hamburg after that. But for the second time running in a WTS race, you don't have a Brit on the podium. So João Pereira, what a great race for him today, out sprinting Alistair Brownlee. And talking about sprinting, Barry's just got back from the interview position.
Third in Yokohama. He's up to silver here today. What a sprint for the line, and what a challenge from South Africa. Please give it up for Richard Murray.
Richard Murray, the ever-smiling South African, who was brilliant again today. Didn't quite have enough to win it, but he is right up there in the overall standings now.
I wouldn't call it a changing of the guard, but I do think that it's no longer a 3-man circuit. You know, these 2 guys, particularly Mola and Murray, are going to be challenging for the entire season. Richard was lucky, though, that swim was only 7:50, because 46 seconds down, he had to work very, very hard to get himself back into this.
Kept out of trouble in the swim and on the bike. And then his running do the talking. He was brilliant. He got past both the Brownlees, past Pereira, in the end past Richard Murray as well. So close in Yokohama. It's all come good today.
Looks like they're about 14:10, 14:15 for the run split, just my quick guess. And Mola said it felt... He said it found the run to be very under control. Richard Murray said it was, you know, almost pedestrian to run a 14:20.
It's a Spanish anthem. We're used to hearing this, but not for this man. Terrific performer he is, Mario Mola. Such a modest man as well.
Yeah, you know, and again, remember, Mario Mola and Richard Murray trained together, so they're in a similar squad. Boy, that says something to the world when you can see the gap between Mario Mola and the Brownlees. You know, and that all happened in basically the last 500 meters of this race.
Magnificent.
Time for some champagne for the boys. That's a big day for Pereira. Boy, that's huge. You know, you think of how few names have ever got on the podium in a WTS race in the last 5 years because of Gomez, because of the two Brownlees, because of that kind of domination. When you get your name on there, that is a very special day for Joel Pereira from Portugal. And they had Silva up there for 2/3 of the run, so he was hanging tough. There was a combination of countries, Great Britain with 2, Spain with 2, Portugal with 2 for most of the run out there. And Richard Murray obviously having a great run of it. I thought both in pre-interviews and in the post-interview, Javier Gomez just is a bit tired. And anyone who's watched how many times he's raced in the last 15 weeks would totally accept and understand why that's the case. I mean, he's a classy guy who would make zero excuses. But you can't be on as many continents, race from the half Ironman all the way down to the sprint today, have won 3 in a row. And I was asking a question, you know, probably only Alistair Brownlee and maybe Vanessa Fernandez and Paula Finley have won 3 in a row on the circuit. So that's a very special level of racing that these guys have been able to achieve.
As mentioned, though, Javier Gomez remains the man to beat, the man up top in the rankings, going into the next event in Chicago, which is in around about 3.5 weeks' time. Getting used to be on the podium together, those two.
The Brownlees were 4th and 5th today, just like they were 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure that that's a trend that you'll see continue in Chicago. I actually think you'll see the next level up by the time they get to Chicago. But boy, you know, Mola and Murray are not going any place away. So champagne time.
That's the problem being at the front. You get absolutely drenched. I was saying after your interviews, Barry, I didn't know actually who was happier, Mola, Murray or Pereira. They all looked absolutely delighted with their efforts.
You know, when you're sick of seeing 3 other names up there every weekend and you finally go, I mean, who would have said before, you know, a month ago that those 3 guys in London would be the 3 on the podium? I think that the odds makers would have had pretty long odds on that for sure. But I just have felt very good about both Mola and Murray over the sprint distance. Not that over Olympic distance, I don't think that they, you know, I think they're brilliant as well. But I just think over that shorter distance, they're just such great runners. And they can't lose that much time in the water as you take a look.
Well, there's the confirmation. That's actually...
But that was out of the water.
Out the water, yeah.
So that gives us a bit of an update, and you can just kind of see Gomez 26 seconds down. That's not his kind of swim, and he said that. He just felt weak in the water right from the beginning of the day, never able to really get it going. You know, he didn't accelerate away on the bike. He just sort of stayed in there, and that led to the, you know, that pack not getting away. Richard Murray, however, was brilliant, and you can see Gomez now still a 300-plus point lead over Johnny Brown.
Yeah, but it's close behind, isn't it? Look, it's only a few points between Brownlee and Mola now, 2nd and 3rd. Then Murray is up to 4th. Alistair into the top 10. He's only run twice.
Gregory Buchholz, when we take a look today, he finished back in 12th, but with that 15-second penalty, he would have been fighting it out for about 5th place overall.
Headlines then from the elite men's race. Mario Mola wins his first WTS event in a brilliant sprint finish with Richard Murray. João Pereira 3rd. In one of the best sprint races we've seen for years. We'll be back with you in 20 minutes' time for the elite women's race. For now, though, from me, Trevor Harris, and for Barry Shepley and our whole crew here in London, it's goodbye.